They called Earth the Forgotten Rock, the galaxy's dust speck of a planet, unworthy of conquest or even notice. Primitive, the Council sneered, watching through cold holoscreens. Barbaric, weak, their fleet loomed above, steel leviathans bristling with annihilation, the proud Drexari Empire's finest. Ships as old as myths, armored in void dark metal and etched with the cold arrogance of generations that never lost. But Earth was unprepared. Its defenses, a patchwork of relic satellites and fractured fleets, were no match. The first strike was a symphony of ruin. Cities turned to ash in minutes. Power grids fell like candles snuffed in a gale. Panic surged through the survivors like a virus. The Drexari laughed, an ugly, guttural sound that echoed across the empty void between stars. On the ground, Commander Jax Ryland crouched beneath the skeletal frame of what once was a hospital. His face smeared with grime and streaked with blood. A jagged scar ran across his cheek, a souvenir from the first days of the invasion. His eyes burned, cold and silent. Around him, shattered remnants of Earth's defense struggled to regroup. Allies, few and fractured, whispered of surrender. The Council's propaganda broadcast spoke of inevitable extinction. But Jax, scarred, quiet, relentless, knew better. He was no hero, no saint, just a man who had survived too much to give up now. "Get the squad moving," he rasped, voice low. "We fall here, the fleet falls everywhere." But the weight of the fleet's shadow pressed down, heavy and merciless. From above, Drexari warships unleashed a second wave, their plasma cascades slicing the atmosphere. Entire districts vanished in bursts of fire. The ground trembled under the roar of their engines, death stalking every breath. Still, Earth did not kneel. Far beyond the chaos in the Council's war chamber, Lord Rek, the supreme Drexari warlord, watched. His eyes gleamed with contempt, dismissing reports of human resistance as folly. "They are insects," he spat, "clinging to a rock. We will crush them, and the galaxy will learn to fear Drexari might." But even as he spoke, whispers of dissent reached him. Reports of humans fighting back in ways no one expected. Guerrilla strikes, ruthless tactics, a defiance that should not be. His sneer tightened. Such persistence was unsettling. Back on Earth, Jax led his squad through the ruins toward the underground bunkers, Earth's last line of defense. Suddenly, a shrill alarm pierced the night. "Incoming!" hissed Private Alara, eyes wide, weapon raised. The ground shook violently as something massive slammed nearby. A bomb? A ship? But this was no ordinary strike. From the shadows emerged a creature, bioengineered horror, part machine, part nightmare, released by the Drexari as their ultimate weapon. A beast designed to hunt and kill without mercy. The squad froze. Jax's breath hitched. Humanity's fight had just become a nightmare darker than anyone imagined. The creature's eyes flared, cold, unnatural light in the choking darkness. It moved like a nightmare born of twisted steel and raw instinct, limbs clicking with mechanical precision, claws raking air where seconds before Jax's squad had stood. "Move!" Jax's voice cut through the haze, sharp, commanding. They scattered, scrambling into broken cover, but the beast was faster. It lunged. Alara screamed. A sound raw and shattering. Jax fired, but the creature shrugged off plasma bursts. Flesh fused with armor like living metal. The air filled with the smell of burning ozone and blood. Around them, the city was a graveyard of shattered hopes. The sky bled dark crimson, lit only by dying fires and the glint of Drexari patrols scouring the ruins. Jax's squad fought tooth and nail, desperate and ragged, bullets chewing into the creature's limbs. But it pressed on, a storm of death and steel, and then it was on Alara. She fell. No time for mourning. "Fall back," Jax ordered, dragging her limp form. The others covered their retreat, suppressing fire ringing in his ears. They vanished into the subterranean tunnels beneath the city. Earth's last sanctuary, a spiderweb of forgotten military bunkers and hidden labs. Silence swallowed them once inside. The air was thick with dust and unspoken fear. Ilara lay pale and bleeding, every breath a battle. Jax knelt beside her, his hands steady despite the chaos. "Hold on," he whispered. "We're not done." Ilara's eyes fluttered open, filled with pain but burning with defiance. "We won't die," she rasped. Above, the surface shook again. Explosions thudded in distant pockets of resistance. Through the hum of emergency generators, a new sound crawled into the tunnels, the low rumble of heavy footsteps. "We're not alone," muttered Kane, the squad's ex-military scout. His fingers traced the cold steel of his blade. Jax's gaze hardened. Allies were scarce. Trust scarcer. He pulled up the comm feed, crackling with fragmented voices. Draxari reinforcements. Heavy artillery. Moving on Bunker Delta, Jax's mind raced. The underground network was their last stronghold? Lose it, and Earth's resistance was crushed. The coalition was fracturing. The Cylon and Vor factions, uneasy allies bound by desperation, bickered endlessly over supplies and command, politics, grudges, fear. Their enemy wielded more than just weapons. Jax knew he couldn't count on unity. He took Ilara's hand, cold, trembling, and forced himself to look past the pain, past the blood. "This fight is bigger than us," he said quietly, voice low enough only the squad could hear. "We don't survive because we're strong. We survive because we refuse to kneel." Outside, the corridors echoed with footsteps. Too many to be human. Beast wasn't alone. It was an advance. A new terror. Something, born of both alien tech and something far older, ancient whispers lost to the stars. Kane's eyes met Jax's. "They're hunting us." Jax's jaw clenched, because sometimes the darkest battles weren't fought with weapons. They were fought with fear, and fear was beginning to win. The tunnels closed in like a tomb. Every breath Jax took was a reminder. This was no longer just a battle for Earth, it was a war for the soul of humanity. The beast's shadow stalked them relentlessly. The Draxari had unleashed horrors with no names, no mercy, engineered to strip hope from bone. But Jax's squad was not ready to break. They moved in silence, past rusted bulkheads and shattered control rooms, guided by the flickering glow of damaged holoscreens. Static voices whispered fragments of lost commands. Behind them, the coalition fractured in the echoing darkness. Silent soldiers muttered about human stubbornness. Four commanders gritted teeth, eyes filled with suspicion. The uneasy alliance held by threads of desperation and bitter necessity. "We can't trust them," hissed Lartek, a Vor warlord whose gaze burned with icy disdain. "They bleed. They falter. We should leave this planet to die." Jax ignored the venom. His squad had learned the bitter truth. Sometimes allies were the deadliest threat. A sudden tremor shook the tunnels. Dust fell from cracked ceilings. "Something's coming," Kane whispered. Ahead, a dim chamber flickered to life. The walls were etched with ancient symbols, glyphs older than any human history, pulsing faintly with an eerie blue light. Jax's comm buzzed. Cylon, Commander Tressa's voice, clipped and urgent. "We've intercepted a transmission. It's not Draxari, something else, something older." Jax's mind raced. The galaxy was not just caught between humans and Draxari. There were ancient forces watching, waiting. Pain was carved deep into humanity's bones. But beneath that pain lay something more terrifying. Ignorance. They had walked blindly into a storm they barely understood. "Ilara. Status?" Jax asked, scanning her pale face. She blinked, voice fragile. "I can move. Just tired." Jax clenched his fists. They had lost so much. Brothers and sisters, cities, futures. But surrender was a word they'd buried alongside the dead. "Prepare the defenses," Jax ordered. "We hold here." As they braced for the unknown, a shadow flickered in the corner of the chamber. Jax spun, weapon raised. A figure stepped from the darkness. Not Draxari, not human, a slender being, garbed in worn robes, eyes reflecting a haunted wisdom. "I am Kael'thar," the stranger said, voice a whisper echoing through the stone. "You fight a war far older than you know." Jax's squad tensed. Trust was a luxury they no longer possessed. Kael'thar's gaze held a warning. The Draxari are but pawns. The true enemy lies beneath the surface, waiting. A cold dread settled. If what Kael'thar said was true, their fight was only just beginning. And worse still, the galaxy might already be lost. The flickering blue glow of the ancient chamber was a weak shield against the oppressive darkness closing in. Jax Ryland stood motionless, his eyes locked on Kael'thar, the stranger whose presence felt like a knife twisted in old wounds. The words he spoke unsettled the core of everything humanity thought they understood. "A war older than your histories," Kael'thar said, voice like a whisper over cold stone. "The Draxari are but pieces on a chessboard. The real enemy lies hidden beneath the surface." Jax swallowed the rising bile of fear and disbelief. He'd fought monsters, hulking biomachines, ruthless Imperial soldiers, merciless killers. But this was something else entirely. The others looked to Jax for guidance, but he had none. Only questions carved deep in his chest. Why reveal this now? Lartek, the Vor warlord, sneered, stepping forward. His reptilian eyes burned with contempt. "If your knowledge is real, why aid us at all?" Kael'thar's gaze hardened. "Because your defiance stirs something long dormant. If Earth falls, the galaxy falls." The room fell into a brittle silence, shattered by the distant roar of explosions outside. The subterranean network trembled. Jax's comm hissed alive, fragments of chaos bleeding through static. Reports of Draxari breaching outer defenses, pockets of resistance annihilated, allies turning on each other. Silent commanders accused the Vor of sabotage. Vor whispered of human treachery. "The coalition fractures," Jax muttered, feeling the weight of fractured trust dragging down their last stand. Kael'thar moved closer, voice barely audible. "There are those among your own who plot betrayal, seeking to claim power from ruin." Jax's jaw clenched. The enemy was not just outside, it was within. Suddenly, a violent tremor shook the tunnels. Dust rained from cracked ceilings. Far above, the Draxari fleet thundered like an unstoppable storm, their warships blotting out the stars. Jax's squad tensed, weapons ready. "Orders," he barked, eyes scanning faces carved from exhaustion and resolve. "We hold the line. No surrender," Alara said, voice fierce despite the blood staining her cheek. But beneath their unity lay fractures sharper than any blade. In the next chamber, heated voices erupted, Cylon accusing Vor of withholding reinforcements, Vor threatening mutiny, humans caught between. Jax moved quickly, slamming a fist on the rusted console. "This ends now." His voice echoed with hard authority, silencing the bickering like a grenade blast. All eyes locked on him. "Searching for a beacon. I don't have rank," he said, "but I have this." He lifted a bloodied hand. "We survive because we refuse to kneel. That's why they fear us." Lartek's lip curled in disdain. "Fear is not enough. You need power, alliances, and you're willing to betray us for it," Jax shot back. A long, heavy silence stretched, broken only by distant screams and the metallic thunder of Draxari artillery. Then Lartek smiled, cold and calculating. "Survival, Commander Ryland. Nothing more." The weight of those words hung like poison. Behind them, faint sounds shifted, footsteps in the shadows, silent but too many to ignore. Kane's voice broke the moment. "We're not alone." Jax turned sharply, weapon raised. breath tightening. From the darkness emerged a group, human faces but eyes empty, moving with unnatural precision. Drexari mind slaves. They had been betrayed from within. Jax's heart hammered. Because now, the fight was not just for Earth's future, it was for their very souls. The mind slaves stepped from the shadows like death incarnate. Once human, now hollow shells in service to the Drexari. Their movements were jerky, mechanical, a grotesque mimicry of life. Jax's breath caught. Betrayed, he muttered, voice raw. From inside, the squad reacted instantly, guns raised, fingers tightening on triggers. But hesitation was poison here. Any pause could mean the end. Hilara gritted her teeth, steady despite the pain bleeding from her side. We hold this line. The corridors became a battleground of desperation and blood. Shots echoed, sharp and brutal, each pulse a defiance against the abyss. The mind slaves advanced without fear, their programming cold and relentless. They tore into the resistance like vultures, stripping away hope with every calculated strike. Jax moved with a predator's precision, eyes scanning, instincts honed through fire and death. His squad fought not just for survival, but for the soul of a planet that refused to kneel. In the chaos, whispers of dissent grew louder. Cylon and Vor soldiers casting accusing glances, alliances fraying faster than wounds could heal. Trust no one, Kane growled, dragging a fallen comrade into cover. This war's poison runs deep. Amidst the gunfire and screams, Jax's mind flashed to Kael'thar's warning, the shadow beneath the surface. Was this the darkness he meant? Or something far worse waiting in the cold void beyond? Suddenly, a deafening explosion rocked the tunnels. An airlock breached, sucking in the choking void beyond. The squad was thrown back, lungs burning with freezing air. Jax scrambled, dragging Hilara to safety. His heart pounded, not just from the blast, but from the rising dread. Outside, the Drexari fleet rumbled, a storm of death tightening its grip. Inside, the enemy was within. The squad huddled in the dim glow of failing lights, breaths shallow, eyes wide. Jax's voice cut through the panic. We're not done. Not yet, but doubt gnawed at the edges of every mind. Why fight? A silent sniper whispered, voice cracking. They're stronger, smarter, we're shadows. Jax's gaze burned. Because shadows don't kneel. They strike back when the light fades. The words hung heavy. Suddenly, the comms buzzed. An encrypted message. Shaky, but urgent. It was from a hidden faction of the Coalition, rebels within rebels, offering aid, supplies, knowledge of a secret weapon buried beneath Earth's crust. A weapon that could turn the tide. But the message ended abruptly. Trust no one, Kane repeated grimly. The squad's resolve hardened. If the galaxy was a storm, humanity was the thunder that refused to be silenced. They would fight the invader, the traitor, and the darkness beneath, because in pain, they found strength, and in despair, a reason to rise. As the squad prepared to move deeper into the labyrinth, a cold whisper crawled across Jax's comm. They're coming for you next. Jax's breath hitched when the voice crackled through the static. Low, cold, certain, they're coming for you next. The words weren't just a threat. They were a promise etched in ice. He tightened his grip on the rifle, muscles coiling for a fight that felt inevitable. Around him, the squad moved with the brutal efficiency born of countless losses. Hilara's face was pale but resolute, the blood smeared across her cheek a testament to survival. Not surrender. Kane checked the perimeter, eyes sharp and restless. The hidden faction's message echoed in their minds, a sliver of hope buried beneath layers of betrayal and despair. Secret weapon, Jax murmured. If it's real, it could be the difference. Lartek, standing apart, spat with venom. Old myths and relics won't save you from the Drexari. But Jax saw the flicker in the Vor's eyes, the calculation beneath the disdain. Desperation made even the proudest predators Grasp at shadows. They pressed deeper into Earth's. The veins, forgotten tunnels scarred by time and secrets. The air thickened, stale and charged with something ancient. Kelthar's warnings echoed in Jax's mind. The enemy lurking beneath was not just the Draxari, it was something older, something waiting. Their lights cut through the darkness, revealing massive doors sealed tight, inscribed with the same eerie glyphs from Kelthar's chamber. Jax's hand brushed a panel. A faint hum thrummed beneath his fingers. "Help me open this," he ordered. Alara limped forward, fingers trembling but steady. The air vibrated, the glyphs pulsing brighter, a language older than any of them could read but felt in their bones. With a hiss, the doors parted, revealing a cavernous chamber lined with dormant machines and ancient tech buried in dust and shadow. A weapon, or a vault. Jax stepped inside cautiously, scanning the room. Screens flickered to life, casting ghostly light on strange symbols and schematics. "This is it," Kelthar breathed, awe threading his voice. "The power you seek." But power came with a price. A sudden tremor shook the ground. Alarms blared, shattering silence. Outside, the enemy fleet advanced, vessels casting long shadows on the planet's surface. Inside, a deeper danger stirred. From the shadows, a guttural growl rose, unnatural and primal. The squad spun, weapons raised. From the darkness emerged a creature unlike any they had faced, an ancient biomechanical horror, scales fused with armor plates, eyes glowing with cold intelligence. Kelthar's face went pale. It has awakened, Jax's heart hammered. They had dug too deep. The ancient enemy, beneath the surface, had stirred, and it was hungry. The corridors echoed with the sound of relentless pursuit. Jax looked to his squad, pain and resolve warring in his eyes. "We either face this nightmare, or we die trying." The beast's claws scraped closer. No one flinched, because this was humanity's crucible, and they would not kneel. The cavern trembled beneath their feet, the beast's guttural growls vibrating through the air like a death chant. Its massive frame emerged from the shadows, biomechanical sinews twisting beneath armored plates, eyes blazing with cold, alien intelligence. This was no mere creature. It was a living nightmare forged by a galaxy older than any war. Jax tightened his grip on the rifle, every muscle screaming with the need to survive. Around him, his squad formed a tight perimeter, their breath shallow, hearts pounding in sync with the distant thunder of enemy warships above. Ilara steadied her aim, voice low and fierce. "We don't back down." The creature lunged, metal clashed with bone. Gunfire ripped through the dark. The beast's claws shredded steel, splintered walls, and tore into flesh. But humanity fought with a ferocity born of pain and unyielding resolve. Jax moved like a shadow, calculated and relentless, his scars a map of every battle survived, every comrade lost. With every strike, he carved a message in blood. They would not kneel. Behind the clash, Kelthar muttered incantations in an ancient tongue, the glyphs on the chamber walls glowing in response. Some forgotten power stirred, battling the awakening horror. Yet the beast adapted, shifting with brutal cunning, exploiting every opening. It was not just a monster, it was a tactician, a predator learning fear for the first time. Cylon and Vor soldiers fought alongside humans, old grudges momentarily set aside. But the tension simmered, fragile and volatile. Lartex snarled, blocking a swipe meant for Jax. "Fragile. Like you." Jax met his glare unflinching. "Fragile isn't weak," he said. "It's a warning." The beast's roar shook the cavern, a deafening sound that ripped through bones and shattered steel. The squad faltered, 2 soldiers down, pinned beneath falling debris. Kane cursed, dragging a wounded Vor to cover. But then, something shifted, a spark. Jax spotted a panel hidden in the shadows, controls for the dormant machinery. "Cover me," he shouted. Bullets tore through the air as Jax sprinted, dodging the beast's furious swipes. His fingers danced over controls, igniting systems long dead. Ancient machines hummed to life, flooding the chamber with searing light and energy. The beast screamed, recoiling under a blast of pure power. But the victory was fleeting. From the chamber's depths, a new alarm sounded, cold, mechanical, and unrelenting. Kelthar's voice trembled. "It's a beacon. The true enemy is coming." Jax's blood ran cold. They had awoken a terror older than war. The Draxari fleet was only the beginning. From the abyss, something far worse surged forward. The chamber doors slammed shut, trapped. The beast snarled, circling like a death sentence. Jax's squad tightened their formation, eyes blazing with one truth: they would fight to the last breath, because this was Earth, the Earth that would not kneel. Darkness swallowed the chamber as the doors sealed shut, cutting off any hope of retreat. The beast prowled closer, each step echoing like a judge's hammer on a coffin. The air was thick with tension, sweat, and something colder, the raw fear of the unknown. Jax's squad huddled tight, weapons trembling in their hands, breaths shallow and ragged. They weren't just fighting for their lives. They were fighting for meaning, for the fragile shard of hope left after betrayal and bloodshed. Alara's voice broke the silence, a low growl of defiance. "We've survived worse. We'll survive this." Kane's gaze scanned every shadow, muscles taut. "Survival isn't enough. We have to win." Jax nodded, feeling the crushing weight of leadership settle heavy on his shoulders. His scars ached, reminders of pain endured and the price of refusal. Kelthar knelt beside the ancient control panel, eyes wide as the glyphs pulsed beneath his touch. "The machines here, they feed on war itself, but there's more. Something buried deeper." A chill slid down Jax's spine. "Deeper?" he asked, voice taut. "The true weapon isn't the tech you seek," Kelthar whispered. "It's the secret buried beneath Earth's crust, a force the Draxari fear even more than your defiance." The squad exchanged uneasy glances. Fear was no longer a stranger. Then, from the darkness, a whisper. "Soft, alien, unsettling humans. You awaken what must remain buried." Jax's fingers tightened on his rifle. The walls seemed to close in, the ancient glyphs flickering like dying stars. Suddenly, the beast lunged again, its eyes aflame with primal hunger. The squad fired in unison, bullets tearing through flesh and armor, but the creature absorbed the punishment, relentless and terrible. Alara cried out. A deep wound opened across her leg. Blood pooled on the cracked floor, but she kept fighting. Jax felt rage flare, cold and sharp. Every inch they lost was paid for in blood, but every strike was a declaration. They would never kneel. Then, a new sound, distant but unmistakable, a low, mechanical hum rising beneath their feet. Kelthar's face went pale. "It's the secret. Awakening." The ground beneath them shuddered violently. Cracks spiderwebbed across the chamber floor as a deep rumble shook the foundations. Jax's voice cut through the chaos. "Move! We can't get trapped here!" But escape routes were sealed, the ancient doors locked tight by an unseen hand. Behind them, the beast growled with rising fury, sensing the shift. The squad scrambled, desperation fueling every movement. And then the chamber itself seemed to breathe. Walls pulsating, glyphs glowing with terrible life. From the depths, something ancient and vengeful stirred, not just a weapon, but a judgment. Jax locked eyes with Kelthar. "This is bigger than war," the stranger said, voice barely audible. "It's extinction." The lights flickered, the rumble became a roar, and the true battle was only beginning. The chamber pulsed like a living wound, walls throbbing with ancient power that no one alive fully understood. The squad's breaths came ragged, hearts pounding in desperate rhythm with the trembling ground beneath. Jax's gaze swept over the fallen. Ilara clutching her wounded leg, Kane bandaging his arm, Lartek's eyes narrowing in fierce calculation. The uneasy coalition was fraying, each of them carrying scars deeper than flesh. Kael'thar stepped forward, voice echoing like a dirge. The force beneath us. It's not just a weapon. It's a sentinel, an ancient guardian programmed to purge all threats. Purge us? Jax growled. We're not the enemy here. Kael'thar shook his head slowly. The galaxy's predators see you as weak, but this is indiscriminate. It judges only destruction. Outside, the distant thunder of the Draxari fleet deepened, a constant reminder that time was a luxury they didn't have. Suddenly, a blinding light erupted from the chamber's core, a colossal energy surge that sent the squad sprawling. When the dust settled, the walls bore new markings, glyphs alive with terrifying clarity, shifting and twisting as if the chamber itself breathed. Lartek hissed, "The old tech reacts to us. Or what we carry inside." Jax's mind raced. Was it their defiance, their resilience, or the scars, physical and spiritual, that marked humanity? Kael'thar's voice dropped to a whisper. It feeds on pain, on endurance, on will. Jax locked eyes with his squad, fierce determination burning through the exhaustion. Then we'll give it everything. But the chamber wasn't done. From the shadows a figure emerged, tall, elegant, dripping with the cold arrogance of the Draxari elite. "Impressive," the alien said, voice dripping with venom. "You awaken forces you cannot control." Jax stepped forward, silent but unyielding. The figure smiled, cruel and mocking. "Your resistance is a wound that will bleed out." But Jax's gaze never wavered. A sudden tremor shook the chamber as the sentinel stirred, massive limbs rising from the shadows, its glowing eyes fixated on them like a death sentence. The alien elite raised a weapon, signaling the final assault. In that heartbeat, Jax felt the weight of every fallen comrade, every shattered alliance, every betrayal and sacrifice. This is our moment, he thought. Not because we are strong, but because we refuse to fall. The chamber doors slammed shut behind them, trapped with an ancient killer and the arrogance of an empire. But the earth that wouldn't kneel had one final secret, and it was about to unleash it. The sentinel loomed, a titan forged from ancient fury and cold machine will. Its eyes burned like dying stars, endless and merciless. The air crackled with raw energy, the chamber a crucible where futures would be forged or shattered. Jax's squad tightened their grip, breaths ragged but spirits unbroken. Every scar on their bodies, every loss endured, led to this moment. The Draxari elite sneered, weapon raised, certainty dripping from every calculated move. But certainty was a fragile thing. Jax stepped forward, voice low, voice iron. "You underestimated us." The elite's smirk faltered. The human's eyes, scarred, quiet, burning, held a storm. A storm born of pain turned into power. With a guttural roar, the sentinel struck. Metal met flesh and fire, ancient technology clashing with raw human resolve. Jax moved like a shadow, leading his squad in a dance of death that blurred lines between hope and despair. The chamber erupted in chaos, energy beams slicing through darkness, desperate shouts swallowed by the roar. Ilara, bleeding but unbroken, planted charges on the sentinel's limbs. Her resolve pure flame. Kane and Lartek fought side by side, grudges forgotten in the face of annihilation. Kael'thar's incantations wrapped around the ancient tech, twisting and bending it with forgotten power. The sentinel faltered, fractured by human will and ancient magic. But the Draxari elite screamed orders, signaling reinforcements. More enemies flooded the chamber, ruthless and cold. Jax's mind sharpened. There was only one way out, the secret weapon, Earth itself. He slammed his palm onto a control panel. The chamber trembled, ancient defenses awakening. Massive pillars of energy surged from the planet's core. weaving through the chamber like rivers of molten light. The Draxari faltered, their advance thrown into chaos by the planet's wrath. Jax locked eyes with the elite once more. This planet doesn't kneel. Neither do we. The squad surged forward, riding the fury of Earth itself. One by one, enemies fell beneath relentless human defiance. The chamber shook violently, the ancient weapon's power a tidal wave breaking the Empire's arrogance. As the dust settled, Jax stood among the ruins, scarred, weary, unbroken. He looked to the stars, where the Draxari fleet hovered, a storm temporarily quelled, but never defeated. His voice was a low rumble. The last sound in the silence, everyone else saw weakness. Humanity saw a reason to fight harder.